I click it live and then I drop my drink. Oh, it's mostly empty, but little spillage, not much. Why? Why? It's not much spillage, but still irritating. Oh, I have nothing. How irritating. Ugh. Okay, yeah, I'm back. I said I might come back tonight. I do want to get through more of this book. I'm loving this book. It's, been good. It's been getting gooder. I want to see what happens next. We're coming around the bend with it. So, yeah, let's read some more chapters, see where we get tonight, huh? 7:30 here in lovely Portland, Oregon. Ow. My wrists are killing me tonight, y'all. They've been barking like mad. So yeah, we're on page 254. There's about 400 pages. So I don't know. I don't think we'll get through it tonight, but we'll see where we get. We will see where we get. You know what? I need to put my banner up, don't I? I'll put up my little banner so we know what I'm reading. Yep. Gotta have things looking spiffy. You're hoping the best for the bird girl. Me too. She's going to read the murmuration for the Queen Elizabeth, the first of England. Oh my God. The Virgin Queen. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what to think. What a book, huh? But yeah, we're reading The Ghost Banner again by Matt Osman of the legendary British Britpop. But more than Britpop, just legendary in a class of their own band, Suede, my favoriteest band ever. Okay. Okay, let's continue on. Chapter 40. All through London, Shay hid her lines without thinking, all through London, Shay said her lines without thinking, and people did what they were supposed to do. The city was a stage set, every house blank behind its eyes, and every hawker's apple made of wax. Limbless beggars cried in front of shuttered houses, and the sun looked like gold foil theater prop. The street sang with post-plague bustle, but Shay walked straight down the middle of the streets with no concern for soldiers or the Jagger or Gilmore's men. A squadron of Elizabeth Swifts marched past her on old change, but she didn't bother to hide under her cap. Shay had read ahead in this script. Nothing ended yet. Extras swarmed around her, but the principal characters were all off stage. Children cried out, Sparrow Queen, sing us a song." And the ferry passengers begged to touch her hem. A long line of figures stood silhouetted on the birdland horizon. A man with a stick propped between two others might have been Lonan, but then again, this was a place full of old men. No matter. The play was in its final scene, and the Aviscultons had no more lines. Oh, that's nice, Court. I didn't know there was going to be a meteor shower tonight. I don't get much view where I am, though, for these things. I mean, I'm just too deep in the city, and it's just too well lit. But we'll see. Alone again, then, with just ghosts to walk beside her, across snow that had melted to dirty ice, leaving the ground the color of bird shit. Why does he have to use the S word so much? Oh, I don't like saying that word. The The frozen terrain was rough going. Keeping to the tussocks of crystallized grass meant an endlessly complicated path, full of doublings back and dead ends, but it was safer than risking the ice. Shay's hose were soon dark with water, her boots heavy. It was cold enough to tear at her lungs, and she brushed ice from her eyebrows and hair. Drums and smoke. Before she could see the Queen's convoy, that's all they were. Drumbeats that rushed over the marshes, and a pall of lethargic smoke, and the falling snow extinguished their torches over and over again. The Queen's people were spread out like a wedge of geese, with a dark knot of bodies clustered in the center. Footmen, soldiers, ladies in waiting, cooks, cabmen, entertainers, advisors, and attendants. The entire palace was on the move. It was a well-oiled process. Servants placed planks across the ice, massed long pieces of wood that took 6 men to move, taken from the back of the convoy and rushed, stumbling, to the front, and then laid down to build a floor as solid as in any house. It was a shifting platform for the Queen on her throne, and the various musicians and ladies in waiting that she kept close. Servants had dragged these planks, making and remaking the wooden road for tens of miles. Shay ached just looking at them. Attendants held up painted panels to the sides and the rear of the Queen so that she didn't have to see a single inch of her realm. Shay shivered in the shadow of the tree. All this fakery, the illustrated walls and floor, the roaring braziers, meant nothing when pitted against the weight of winter. The convoy stopped 10 yards from the tree. A knuckle of root protruded out into the marsh, and it set the planks at a slight angle. The Queen's throne leaned gently towards the river. The drums halted, and a soldier with a musket stepped forward to check her over. "Approach," he said. The walk felt endless. This close to the tree, it was less marshy, but exposed roots had buckled the ground into frozen waves, and she tripped twice. Her breath was louder than the sounds around her. Banners flapping and the flock of starlings that were beginning to settle in the branches of the tree. Elizabeth was swaddled in dark fur, so voluminous that her pale face looked like a saintly relic on display. "She's dying," thought Shay. Nonsuch would have had much to say about her makeup. It was thick and sloppily applied. The white had crumbled around her eyes, and the red blusher made her look clownish. Still, her eyes were watchful. I can't imagine one telling a positive fortune in such a desolate place. She waved a hand in the general direction of Birdland. Thankfully, the starlings were massing behind her. "It's majestic as well as desolate, though, no?" said Shay. She gave a little bow as she spoke. Elizabeth's glance about the place, the miles of hard gray land hung over by smoke and cloud, was cursory. She looked up at the tree. "They are here? You have what you need?" A restlessness was building in the branches above. Birds arrived from all directions and set the flock moving through the tree. Already the boughs heavied under dark bodies, and still more circled overhead. God willing, the conditions are perfect. Does Her Majesty have a particular aspect of her fortune for us to focus on? A stray gust of wind scuttled across the marsh, lifting the flock from the branches and then setting them down again. A stray curl escaped from Elizabeth's hood. Her red hair was pure white at the roots. "Not my fortune today, Sparrow Girl, but yours." She snapped her fingers, and a servant stepped forward to unfold a sheet of paper in front of them. Shay recognized the palette, yellow paper in black capitals, ghost theater work. It read, "Saturnalia now, the Ghost Theater, the death of Lord Nonsuch, and the Sparrow's return. Southwark, tomorrow." The death of Lord Nonsuch, y'all. Elizabeth's eyes were fixed on Shay. There are hundreds of these all over the city. The faster we take them down, the quicker they go back up. It is disappointing. I swear I know nothing about this. The cold was in her bones now, and seeing her name there chilled her further. I know nothing about it, and if I'd been asked to perform, I would have said no. You've seen him? No, but he knows that I wouldn't be part of this. Elizabeth said nothing. She simply sat there with the wind flapping at the panels around her, rattle of branches and squabble of birds. Her breath smelled of something dying and of the cloves that were meant to hide the rot. The combination of the two, death in its shroud, was worse than either thing on its own. Her silence begged to be filled. Shay said, "The commoners forced me to perform, but now I've retired. I'm done." She couldn't tell if Elizabeth was listening. The Queen smoothed out the paper in front of her, but didn't look at it again. "Do you know where he is?" "No." "Do you know where he's going to be performing?" "No." "Do you know what he's going to say?" "No, and I'll warrant that he doesn't know yet either." Elizabeth's look was then something deeper. For the first time, Shay considered that the Queen might be scared of none such. The whole world knew that the excesses of the prentices were an annoyance to her, what with their riots and drunkenness. But theirs was an unfocused violence that flared and spat and died down as quickly as it had sparked. With a sudden clarity, she saw the source of Elizabeth's fear. None such might be the one to fashion them, to turn them from flock into murmuration, from mob into army, from wildness into weapon. Elizabeth shivered again, even swaddled in her furs, and Shay had the sudden impression that she was just ahead, the head of state, lying there on a bed of embroidery. It made her ridiculous and terrifying. Elizabeth clapped her hands, and the noise raced across the ice. Behind her, servants started clapping too. Some had rattles. As the racket spread, the starlings took the air in great ripples. She took Shay's hand and said, "Well, we should find out." One moment the birds were scattered like pebbles, the next they were a single living thing. 100 necks craned towards the spectacle, and a shape formed in the gray air like a cross hatching. The convoy cried out as if at fireworks, and Elizabeth squeezed her hand. It was such a human gesture that it took Shay out of herself for a second. The fires blazed around them and made the birds a black smear against the clouds. She couldn't see a thing. Why did everyone want answers? Where did they get you? Nowhere. The world rolled its waves over you anyway. It was like arguing with the sea. And then as she readied a lie to cover her lack of inspiration, it happened. A shift like her mind missing its footing. A crack deep within her, ice against ice. And then in rushing and lifting her, the air came alive. And she was inside the flock of birds. They swirled like blown leaves, but everything was calm. Their movement was stillness. Their chaos was order. Shay was utterly lost, tossed and buffeted by the wind. Not a bird in a flock, but a feather on a wing, shaping the flight while being shaped by it. She laughed with naked pleasure, to be thrown down and raised up, to spin like a sycamore seed, to be inches and seconds from disaster, but safe in a nest. "Oh," said her mind. "Oh, this is what it's like." It was exactly as she'd imagined, and wholly shrinkingly strange. How long did she spend curveting and fountaining in the breath of the flock? It felt like minutes, but time was soft and fat here, a thing to be molded. There was something she was supposed to do. What was it? The flock tightened like a sinew, and she was part of it. He will die before her, will die before you. The words were in the noise somewhere, made up of tail feather and headwind, claw and snow. The forest must burn before it grows anew. The forest is London? She asked without words, knowing the answer and not expecting one. She will stop the river, he will cross the river, you will be the river. Shay was tossed in a twisting loop that ought to have been terrifying. In rush, out breath, and the world tipped over like a glass of water. An empty nest will kill you all. How, she asked, over and over, like breezes in the bare branches. The city is a shadow of the kingdom of the air. Yes, you will fall. No, the world spun around inside the flock, visible again. Sky, snow, water, earth. The invisible center around which the murmuration writhed lost its hold. Birds peeled away into the infinity of sky, and the whole flock plummeted, a violin sliding from high to low sea. You will fall. How could the earth rise up to hit her when she stood tight on her own 2 feet? But it did. A slap from a careless hand, and ice ground into the wound, flat on her face with a hand still in hers, but not the one she wanted, never the one she wanted. Servants hauled her to her feet with their hands under her armpits. Elizabeth's courtiers stayed close, and Shay, as she passed out, saw hands go to knives. From somewhere else now, like the voices you hear, far away as sleep takes you. You 3 will fall. She slept on the floor of her father's house. It had the ingrained cold of a place unheated even by breath for the whole of winter. So he was gone from here at least. Another ghost in Shay's personal theater. Her fingers curled and numbed, and she didn't have the strength to rub them back to life. Someone came and covered her with blankets, but their weight only trapped the cold deeper inside her. Her bones sang with ice, and she thought that she might shatter. The moon was at the window. She watched for a bird to fly across its light, a good omen, everyone said, but none came. An empty nest will kill you all. Which of them had said that? The curtains were open, and they would never close again. Hands under her armpits, conversations in the air above her, a glimpse of milky blind eyes that saw her and then looked away. Ladders, sleds, boats, so much work. Empty hands and the silly old moon above her, bear cries, dog howls, all London's caged things. Interesting. What is my fascination with this book? Well, I like to finish the books I start reading, Tomas. That is my fascination. That is my fascination with the book. Should there be another fascination? Hello to Yoda. Hello to Tomas. Golden Rule TV is here. Samuel. Court, who I've also greeted. Nice to see you all. We are not done with this book. We are nearing the end of the book, but it is not finished. Well, y'all don't have to be here. Y'all can be here or not. This book stinks. My hair looks nice, thank you. Thank you for blessings as well, Sunny. I've been enjoying the book, yes. I have enjoyed the story. It's been interesting, It's been an interesting thing to imagine, to bring to life in my mind. Oh, thank you. Court greets me too. That's nice. Terry, don't call me Harry. Oh dear. The children bullied me as a youth. They would call me Hairy Terry or Scary Terry. It wasn't nice. It hurt my feelings. It wasn't that hairy either. What can you do? Shall I continue? Chapter 41. It was warm when she woke. The floor beneath her tilted gently, and she smelled something too rich for London air. There was only one place where she'd tasted the heat of spices indoors before. Blank, she said. Good morning. He sat on a three-legged stool as he sewed something onto a piece of pale cloth. The Kraken awakes. He put down his sewing and kneeled to brush her hair back. You even slept as I carried you up the mast. I wouldn't have thought it could be done. He looked older, gray-tipped his curls, and his eyelids drooped. He stood back up awkwardly. The room was at an odd angle. Some coffee, I think. Coffee? They're having coffee and tea. I don't think Londoners or even the British drank coffee and tea at that time. Whatever, Matt. I mean, no, I haven't heard of... no one called me Fairy Terry. I can overcome it. I will overcome the book when I finish it. I have not seen Scary Terry, nor heard of Mary Terry, but I'm glad she's Mary. Matt is the author of this book, Matt Osman. He's the bassist of Suede, and he wrote this book. It's the bassist of my favorite band. So I bought his book to support him because I'm a good and loyal fan. As I believe in being a good fan. Is that, I don't know, that's why I enjoy the book thoroughly. I think the story is interesting. I like this story of a weird girl. I have read your comment. I'm not reading it out loud, Yoda. That's not appropriate. I mean, some men are into hirsute women. It's a bit of a fetish, you know. So, I mean, and hello to Stacy as well. I mean, it is something that men fetishize, you know, women's body hair. Some men are into really hairy women as well. I don't know. That's his business. Good for him if he is, you know. My baby mama is Creole. Okay. Are they hairy? I don't know. Are they known for being hairy? I feel like the people I've known who've been hairiest, like, I don't know, it wasn't even really, I mean, they were all different races. I don't want to say they're all different races. Anyone like Hispanic woman, she was Mexican. She was very hairy. She had like a beard that she shaved, and she was like saving her money to get lasering done. I hope she got it one day. And then, yeah, I've known just other women who grow it out, and it's very thick. I mean, there was a long time when I didn't believe in, you know, removing your body hair, but I never had really thick hair, you know, like sometimes I would look at other women when you'd be out like with your feminist gal pals, and, you know, they'd have their legs exposed and their legs would be all hairy, but mine, you could barely see anything. So I guess I'm kind of lucky in that way. I don't know if it's lucky, but I'm glad that I didn't have really thick leg hair like some women had. I had a friend in high school who had really intensely thick leg hair. It's very black too. You love women like that? Like what? I don't know. Now I'm feeling kind of self-conscious. You just threw up in your mouth, yeah. And she was like not into shaving either. She was native though. She was native and Irish. But she still is. I mean, we're still friends to this day. She's still my homegirl. And then she had another friend who was pretty hairy too. She was also native and Mexican, so she was pretty hairy. I don't know. I've known a lot of different people who are pretty hairy. A lot of different women who are pretty hairy. I don't measure up, so I don't understand why I was called Hairy Terry and like, or you know what else they? Oh, I'm not even going to tell you what they called me. I won't tell you because you all will call me it. I won't say. Okay, back to the story. He fussed with a pan and beans, and Shay warmed from inside and out. The room was unchanging in its slope, so she peered out through the flaps. The Thames was frozen solid and had trapped the albatross at an angle. Blank's voice was warm with amusement. Your people were extremely keen to be rid of you. A boatman arrived here last night and wouldn't leave without me. Have you been causing trouble? Had she? I'm not sure. I was with the Queen. If he was surprised, he didn't show it. He moved around the crow's nest in bare feet, brewing coffee and spreading butter on thick ends of bread. Shay was instantly ravenously hungry. He sat down and fed her like a bird. Now what did our sovereign want with you? The coffee was too hot, but she needed fire inside her immediately. She sipped at it and said she wanted to know what to do with Nonsuch. He nodded. He has been rather busy since his return. Has he been putting on shows on his own? I'm not sure I could call them shows, really. Provocations, maybe. Insurrections? And certainly not on his own. There's hardly a boy in the city who hasn't taken part in some way. Blank looked out over the city. You know he stole a galleon? Nonsuch did? He can barely pilot a tilt boat. Well, not necessarily him, someone in his thrall, or maybe someone out to impress him. Winter and Fox and all of that lot worship him. Anyway, somebody stole an empty galleon and set it afire. A fire and adrift. He couldn't keep the admiration from his voice. It was beautiful, Shay. They daubed it white like a swan, torched the sails, and set it loose, with every cannon loaded with flour. Flour? He smiled. You should have seen it, ghost white and aflame down the Thames. And as the cannon burned, they fired great white clouds like outbreaths across the city. Nonsuch did have that gift, putting images in your head. She saw it clearer than a memory, a spectral dragon gliding across the waves, breathing smoke across the cowering city. Where is he, Blank? God only knows, if even he does. Elizabeth certainly doesn't. What did you tell her? Shay thought back to the evening before. I have no idea. She slept without dreaming, and the day disappeared between the cracks in the floorboards. London's clockwork whispered to her, hawker cries and church bells, street songs and the constant sound of building. Blank went in and out. He left in sailor's whites and came back smelling of rum and smoke. As the light began to fade, he returned again. Shay struggled to sit up, and he examined her carefully. Awake? Alive? She nodded, and he handed her a handbill. Saturnalian now, the death of Lord Nonsuch and Sackerson unbound. The Ghost Theatre issue pardons. The Sparrow shows her claws. Southwark, tomorrow. The Sparrow shows her claws. Yoda's being all nasty. I'm not keeping up with the chat. I can't even. Y'all. Don't read the chat, Terry. Thank you, Tomas. I will continue. Blank looked pensive. There are thousands of them between here and the bridge. It's provocative, deliberately provocative. The prentices are like animals on Saturnalia anyway, and it wouldn't take much to push them over the edge. It's interesting to think of them having a Saturnalia in like the Elizabethan era. Sparrows have talons. They sure do. But this sparrow has claws because she's a human. Stacy, Yoda is beyond sick and hypocritical. Dang. Has anyone here participated in a Saturnalia? It's interesting. Shay pulled the cover more tightly around her. They won't let it go ahead, surely. The master of the revels will shut this town in an instant. Elizabeth Black Swifts, too, she thought. Blank said it's not quite that simple. No one knows exactly where in Southwark it's happening, and none such has built quite the following while you were away. By the time the master knows the location, there will be thousands there, and there's no way that his men will take on a crowd like that. Shay pulled back the cloth to look out over the water. The frozen river was thick with figures making for the southern shore. Their shouts and the clink of ale jugs carried across the ice. She watched a drunk boy slip and be hauled laughingly to his feet by his friends. It's busy out there already. Blank bent over his coffee. Everyone wants to be in Southwark tonight. I heard that rooms were renting for $1 apiece already. Everyone wants to be prepared. Yes, Saturnalia is a pagan holiday. It took place, at basically the start of winter, to honor Saturn, who rules over that time, But it seemed like a fun time. I read about how the Romans had donuts they would sell and eat at that time. Do the chickens have large talons? Everyone loves the Romans. I love the Romans. Well, I'm part Roman. So, it's in me to love them, I suppose. And I don't know. There's just something so, never ending about it. I don't feel like Rome ever ended. It hasn't. Well, anyway, this is so interesting. Like Nonesuch. What's going to happen with her and Nonesuch? Shay watched the stream of people. How could there be so many? She had the sense, as she often did, that London was endless and its population immeasurable. The city was England's drain, and everyone spiraled around it, pulled from the wide open spaces to huddle in one of London's unlit, unheated rooms. It chewed them up and threw them out, and the next generation came happily to take their places. And now the flotsam drained towards Southwark. Most were laughing and most were drunk. Children, really, but still they came. Dusk fell and the numbers grew. Those who'd thought to bring lanterns cut straight across the frozen river, while the less prepared wandered and fell and could only be tracked by their curses as they went over for the third time. Southwark was a glittering gem on the southern shore. You could even hear it, a low crackle like embers made up of thousands of voices. Shay dozed and dreamt of a cold, empty nest. A noise woke her, a subterranean crack that echoed in her bones. It was like trees coming down. The crow's nest vibrated with a deep shudder. Blank. Blank? He was silhouetted against a square of moonlight, dressed for going out. What's going on? She asked. He turned back into the room, a black shape. They're smashing up the Thames. I can't with y'all. She wrapped herself in a blanket and looked out. At first it appeared as if the river itself was aflame, but as her vision cleared, she made out a string of men holding torches. In front of them, other figures swung axes. Men cried, 3, 2, 1, go, and then a wave of axes broke onto the ice. A moment of rest, and then again, 2 times 3, and then again came that crack. The line of men shuffled back a couple of yards, and the torchmen followed. Shay looked west along the river. The line of men stretched all the way beyond the bend of Westminster. Blank pulled on his boots. What are you doing? Shay asked. He tied a bow. They're going to cut off Southwark. They'll break the ice for miles and then close the bridge. If the Queen orders the rivermen to stay home tomorrow, then there will be no way in and out of South London. They won't care if whatever Nonsuch has planned stays in Southwark. He tossed her some clothes from the costume pile, trousers lined with fur and a monk's habit, gloves and socks. Come on, you don't want to miss this, do you? Oh dear. Would I still date the author? What makes you think I would date the author what do you mean by still? I think he's married. I don't think he's available. I think he has a wife and children. I'm pretty sure Matt's married. Yeah, I think because Richard just got married like a year or two ago, and he was the last of them, I think. Other than, I don't think Simon's married, but he's gay. So, yeah, he's not available, unfortunately. If things had been different, maybe. He is a handsome man. He's handsome and talented, you know. The gloves hardly helped against the ice on the mast and the rope ladders. By the time she stepped out onto the Thames, she couldn't feel her fingers or toes. They cut along the river close to the bank where the ice was still intact. Shay half walked and half slid across the surface, and the motion made her feel like a child again. One Christmas, when she was small, the whole family had strolled the frozen Thames to watch the city folk all dressed up for midnight service. She could feel it now, the thrill of being awake so late and her mother's hand in hers as they slid across the ice together. And then the memory buried deep in her muscles of being carried home, draped over her father's shoulder, as secure a feeling as she'd ever had. It took them 10 minutes to reach the icebreakers, shouted orders and the cymbal crash of axes on ice. It sounded like war. Blank cut diagonally away from the bridge, and they overtook the first of the men. Moon gleam flattened the ice until it was like walking on air. In the center, the surface was thinner, and twice she had to guide Blank around darker patches. They could hear the river still rolling somewhere deep beneath them, and every minute or so the ground reverberated with deep clangs. That is disturbing. I can't even imagine a river like the Thames actually. Oh, no, my favorite singer is Morrissey Yoda. And Matt Osman is not a singer. He's a bassist. Yes, Gregashon, we're back again reading our book. Why don't you look him up before you ask me these questions? You don't know about him. The Thames. The Thames. The Thames. The River Thames, y'all. It's the Thames. You're your favorite singer? No, my favorite singer is Morrissey. Love him. Love him, absolutely adore him. He's a living treasure, a living icon, last of a dying breed, and Irish, so deeply Irish. I will not read the never-ending story. We will not read fiction for a while. I want to get back to something more normal. Okay. Southwark was a lantern. Torches blazed on every wall, and Brazier's brothel had a queue down the street. Prentices wreathed in their own breath, whistled at passing girls, and Shay pulled her hood tight around her. Ghost theater posters plastered the walls, and they heard the same names from every drunken street corner. None such, Sparrow, the Queen, tomorrow. Nothing to do but walk. They strolled along the bank with the Thames whispering somewhere beneath the ice off to their left. Blank still hadn't asked about none such, and Shay was grateful for that. Somewhere in the distance, broken ice clashed with a grinding sound, and along the shore light showed yards out into the river. Blank pointed. See that? They're merchant ships trapped in the ice. They'll have a berth for an old sailor. If you could bear pretending to be a boy again, then it will be warm at least. Shay was done with men and talk in tiny rooms. She wanted silence and space. A familiar building loomed behind them, and she said, You go. I need to see an old friend. I'll find you in the morning. Interesting. Court. Oh my goodness, court. You know that Yoda's going to go ape over that comment. He's not going to let that one go. Oh, well. Pictures included. Courts, shush. I don't think I should read such a book. I think that's something to be read in private. And maybe not. Does it need to be read? I don't know. No. Hello, crisis actor Yansiri. Nice to see you. The Bear Pit's huge fireplace was topped with a wide chimney, and Shay had to wedge against the sides to lower herself down. Excuse me. The brickwork was lined with inches of built-up soot, and as she pressed herself against the walls, they started to crumble and slide. The dirt fell in a black sheet, and her left arm shot after it, spinning her horizontal. She straightened and forced herself rigid. Bricks scraped her skin, and she had to dig in deeper. She let out a cry of pain and came to a juddering halt with her shoulders and feet pressed hard into the walls. Soot fell, and she kept her mouth closed as she shimmied down. 1 foot opposite shoulder, other foot, other shoulder, an inch at a time. The walls as rough as sandpaper, inch, inch, inch. A trickle of blood ran between her shoulder blades, inch, 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 until her arse touched something, and with relief she let go and tumbled the last foot into the hearth. Spent logs crumbled under her. The grate dug into her back, and her mouth filled with ash. She coughed and spat and rolled out into the room. Pitch black. She stifled a cough and listened. Soft noises. Soft, but not small. Breaths with some heft behind them. Thud, thud, thud. And Shay saw those paws in her mind. Leather pads with knives attached. She sat still and made the dove call. The steps stopped. She cleared her throat and tried again, and a whine came from directly in front of her. She cooed and felt sudden wet leather at her neck, wet leather and hot breath. Sackerson's nose read her carefully, the vein in her neck, her wounds, her hair between her legs. She kept her hands by her side and whispered, "Good boy, old friend. Can you smell the cage on me, right?" Her knuckles had been skinned on the flue, and Sackerson began to clean them. His tongue was like a gloved hand, rough but gently wielded. As slowly as possible, she reached out. Could he see in this light? The way he snuffled with his nose made her think not. She touched fur and he growled, a sound that came up through her feet, but it didn't worry her. Growls are all he has, she thought, and stroked his belly. They went on like this for a couple of minutes, his tongue on her wounds, her hands in his fur, and his growl unceasing. And then he was done. Speaking of Saturn, the bears. Good old Sackerson, this majestic bear. Oh. It's nice to have him return to the story. And just the idea of this, bird girl taming this massive bear, it's magical, isn't it? Has anyone in the chat ever wondered what it would be like to pet a bear, to cuddle one, to hug one? I mean, they seem so like they would be wonderful animals to just cuddle, but they're so dangerous. And then he was done. He lay back down with a sigh and arranged himself into a crescent. Shay curled into his belly, trying to leach some of his warmth. She chattered the whole time. "Do they come after you in your sleep, boy? They do? Me too. They won't let us have even a minute to ourselves. Tonight, though, their attention should go elsewhere. We'll see each other when we sleep. Where shall we go?" In her dream, she flew, low and fast, through a snow-shrouded forest. Trees so thick that at a distance they looked like a wall. But as she sped closer, the perfect gap opened between the trunks. She didn't even have to alter her course, just on and on with snow beneath. The boughs above and icy air whistling around her. Twice she saw bear tracks curling off into the distance, but she couldn't stop. She couldn't even look around. And then it was morning. Grimy light shone in from a ring of windows high above the pit. Still, she wouldn't have known that if none such was there until he cleared her throat. Still, she wouldn't have known that none such was there until he cleared his throat. He sat in the front row of the circle, looking down. Shay had never seen him in the audience before. He clapped slowly. What a first scene! I couldn't have written it better myself. We open on the sparrow, blackened and torn, in the embrace of a mighty bear. I am agog. He wore the same whole jacket that he'd had on the first day they met, but it was now grayed with age. His face was the same faded hue, candlelight skin. A stage crown sat angled down over one ear. He shifted forward in his seat, keeping his distance. He still knows where the light suits him best, Shay thought. So what's scene 2? He asked. Shay sat up, trying not to disturb Sackerson. I have no idea. There's no script. You're the one advertising my performance. He held his hands up. I'm sorry about that, but today very much needs arses on seats, and though it pains me to say it, you're quite the draw. No accounting for the public. Of course, you're even more popular since your little northern jaunt. Shay kept her voice low. Northern jaunt? Use the proper words. My enslavement, my betrayal. Your cowardice. No. You love bears, but far, far away, of course. He shook his head. Well, whatever it was, it's done you a world of good. You're looking well. Shay had planned many times over what she would say to him when they had next met. But here, now, words weren't adequate. How did you know I was here? If none such could find her, then so could her enemies. I didn't. I came for the bear, the only real star out of the three of us. Sackerson had been on the poster, Shay remembered. You're going to have him fight? He waved a hand. Lord, no, I'm going to free him. I'm going to free him and all of the city's prisoners. He can go drink at the Old Swan or order suckling pig at Emerson's. I'll grant him the freedom of Southwark. Sackerson shifted beneath her. A huge paw scratched his ear from somewhere deep inside sleep. So freedom for everyone except me. There was irritation in his sigh. Oh, saints, it was necessary, Shay. Our drama called for it, the tragedy. He stood. Surely you saw it right from the beginning. None such and the sparrow and none such. What a tale. It had everything. A bird girl and a changeling boy. Queens and magicians, treasure and treason. But it could only be a tragedy. You must have understood that. When the lowborn reach for the sun, then the world will burn them up. His words were black ice, but she stood firm. Remember that first night in the bunk? We were going to make something new. We were going to raise their old stories to the ground. He nodded. We did. But those old stories never really die. A still fell across the bear pit. Sackerson's breaths calmed her. None such passed his hand across his eyes. I was a fucking magician, Shay, once. I transformed the stage into a ship. I made London into Rome. Blackfriars became Babylon. His voice rang. I was Cleopatra, Caligula, and Constantine. As he spoke, those characters flashed across his face and then disappeared. But I had nothing. He collapsed in on himself. Evans took the money and I got the flowers. Do you remember all the flowers, Shay? Armfuls of them. Half as pretty as me and dead before sundown. He wiggled a finger through his bassoon. A tragedy of a boy, but then. He threw his arms wide. I built the Ghost Theater and I was reborn. I snuck into 1,000 prentices' minds and 1,000 rich girls' dreams. My words were a plague that infected the whole city, and those old stories couldn't claim me. He sat back down, and then you opened your mouth without so much as a thought. You started to sing, and the coins spewed out. Birdsong. I was second on the bill to birdsong. He's jealous of her. Oh, this is so interesting. It's really interesting how many men become jealous of women. It's a very interesting phenomenon of like men who envy even the women who they're like involved with, even like they're, and it's so interesting to see this with none such. It's so interesting. Oh, it's very common, Galahad. I don't even with you. I mean, I don't know. It's very common. It's very common. Men will like deliberately sabotage a woman out of envy. Like they will get involved with her and like mess her all up just out of envy. It's very common. Hold on, Terry, it's fiction. But fiction is real. Fiction comes from reality. Their dads failed them. Indeed, they did. Indeed, they did. Don't call them men, though. You degrade the real men. Okay, I'm using men just to mean an adult human male. I'm not meaning it for any other thing. We're not talking about character here. We're not talking about that. It was interesting. I watched a video earlier where the woman kind of talked about that because she was analyzing like the relationship between Offset and Cardi B, for example. And yeah, she had some interesting insight about it. It's a sass channel. Ugh. But yeah, she was talking about just their public messiness, which has been going on for quite a while, and like how he said to her, or how he said publicly to her, whatever, you're my baby mama, I win, or something like that. You're my baby mama, so I win. So for one, seeing like their relationship as a game, and that also one that he won, but also like she's not a baby mama, they're married, they're still married, so it's just like interesting. And what has he done except be an impediment towards her, really? Well, let me continue with the story. It's just interesting to see the envy in Nonesuch, to see that Nonesuch became envious of her, and this is part of why he betrayed her. And now he's writing their story into a tragedy. I mean, girls, watch out for these pretty boys. Watch out for them out here. You feel bad for them, you pity them. In many ways, like this story is like a cautionary tale. Like, don't love a man out of pity. I mean, I think I don't know, it was just interesting. She like, them theater boys, exactly, theater boys. He stared at her with blank eyes. Shay, have you any idea how hard I worked to escape? You can't imagine the things I did, the lies I told, the sins that I ate, he spat. Everything that I spent my life working for, you found in your back pocket. You didn't even know it was there. Oh, God. Guy Pearce could play Nonesuch. How interesting. I would love to see this adapted. God, this would be amazing. He rubbed both hands down his face, pulling his skin so he looked like a bloodhound. The sparrow, the fucking sparrow. Oh, the mystery. With her tits like pancakes and her arse like a serving board. She's boy and girl. She's man and bird. Make up your fucking mind. 16 years old and never had to make a decision in her silly life. So I made up your mind for you. Isn't that every child's dream, to run away and join the circus? Words. The moment that you tried to fight words with words, you were lost. But she had nothing else here. You sold me. Sold me. She took a handful of coins from her pocket and tossed them up into the stall. They fell with a dull clatter. You were sold as a boy, and you sold me. You're everything you hate. He shook his... Hi, baby. Oh, we got Kitty here. We got the kitty here. Oh, the kitty. Hi, the kitty. You want to get on this lap? Oh. Oh, the kitty. Oh, the kitty. You've been drinking rosé for 48 hours. Goodness. Circus or freak show? Both, I suppose. My love, my kitty love. Are you my little Sackerson? Are you my little Sackerson? Are you my little bear? Yes, you are. You're a bear just like everyone in the family is. Yes, you are. You're my little bear. My kitty bear. I love him. Oh, Samuel coming in with the kitty super chat. Thank you, Samuel. Samuel loves the kitty. Thank you. That's so nice. Meow, this is for you. Oh, my little kitty. You're so cuddly and warm and sweet, my little kitty bear. My little kitty bear. Well, if I'm a tear bear, then he's a kitty bear, isn't he? Are you my Nini bear? My Nina bear? Yes, kitty bear. He's a kitty. He's a kitty, but he also a bear. He shook his head and stepped out into the bear ring. People like you and me, Shay, were born sold. I just chose your buyer. He came close and reached out his hands, and automatically she reached back. He stepped her into a dance position and whispered, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Even in the straw and S word of the bear pit, he danced well, one hand in the small of her back and one in her palm. That first day I saw you on the rooftops, oh my word, with each leap I thought to myself, that's it, she's going to fly. With his arms under her armpits, he lifted her, but barely a couple of inches. I truly thought it would happen. I could see it. The men and the dogs all looking up into the heavens, and you gone into the light. He stopped. But down you came every time. We can't escape our roles, Shay. We can only play them with some style. Shay stopped the dance. Did you love me? The question was automatic, an out breath. Oh, my goodness. Thank you, Court. Court has sent a super sticker as well. Thank you. John Siri is apparently chilling with his own cat right now. More cat, all the cat. Yes. He didn't stop to think. Yes, 100 times over. I loved your stubble rash and your stutter and the way you cried when I was inside you. I hate him. I hate that such. And your scars and your sailor smocks and your fierce, fierce nails. I loved your feet on the roof overhead and your hand in mine and your animal kick dreams and the way you ate and the way you slept. He looked weary now, like he was listing violences done to him. How interesting. It does seem that way, Matthew. For many of the fellas, especially the ones who envy women. He looked weary now, like he was listing violences done to him. I loved your kindness to the stage door girls, and your scuffed knees and elbows, and your big stupid joy at a magpie or a blue jay, and your leaps and bounds, and your bird calls and trances, and your singing, and your laughing, and your stage fright, and your tattoos. A swollen river of words. How much he'd seen and how much she'd never managed to hide. She felt stripped, words tumbling out like they were on a stage. But an image crossed her mind. Trustle's drawing of her. That isn't me. Those are just things I did. It wasn't me that you loved. It was just my role. His eyes were black discs, but he smiled for the first time that day. Maybe so, but oh, Shay, what a role. Someone pounded on the main doors. Sackerson's nose twitched, and Shay went back to comfort him. That'll be my blades, come for the bear. The door swung open into a blazing rectangle of light, and none such as boys barreled in. Street kids mainly, in torn military uniforms, all decorated with thick red X's across the chest. Sloppy painting like plague house doors. They filled the space with chatter and ale belch and the clanking of chains. Shay's eyes hurt from the light as the boys surrounded her and the bear. They looked more wary of her. What's it like out there? None such leant on a stick and picked at his teeth. It's wild. Everyone has cleared out. No watch, no owners, no rules. Gilmore's men are out there looking for someone. At this, the boy gave Shay a sideways look, but they're keeping their heads down. There's tens of them and thousands of us. He flung his arms wide. Southwark is ours. Did you bring food for the bear? Of course. He opened a sack, and the air filled with the smell of cooked meat. Swan, venison, the good stuff. Sackerson rolled his thick shoulders and snuffled his snout even as he slept. Would you like some swan and venison? Actually, I gave you venison once. You didn't really care for it, and I didn't care for it either. We thought we would care for it, but we didn't. Nothing better than a woman with a book. Yes, by firelight. Reading by firelight in front of a burning fire. Is there anything more wonderful? Oh, my darling. Oh, my darling. Good night, Court. Have a good time. I don't hate you, Golden Rule. You do say things, though, that I find rather disturbing. My darling. My darling. My darling. My darling. My darling kitty. You're so sweet. What a good kitty. Matthew says women shouldn't read, but we clearly know that he doesn't actually feel that way because he's here. Collar him first, then feed him. It was like Shay was the one being chained, the clunk of the lock and the groan of metal. She felt them in her teeth. Nonsuch tugged a drumstick from a swan's carcass, and it rippled nausea through her. He saw her shoulders heave. Sorry, we didn't know you were going to be here. Anyway, and one man's God is another man's lunch. Oh, God, now the men have descended into calling one another gay. Oh, dear. My poor chat. Sackerson hauled himself upright, and his muscles rolled like hills. He turned his head sideways, touched the meat with the dimpled end of his nose, and then took it gently in his mouth. He fell back onto his behind and chewed contemplatively. When he spat out a long bone and brushed it from his fur, Nonsuch made the sign to leave. He pulled another hunk of meat from his bag, and Sackerson eyed it. The bear could be nimble when food was involved. Up onto all fours, with Nonsuch's voice waggling the haunch of venison. Get me up there. In moments he was on the bear's back. Sackerson craned his neck to see what was going on, but finally settled down to chew. Join me, said Nonsuch to Shay, as if they were idly discussing a scene. Our public awaits. Your public. I'm done with audiences. Nonsuch puffed his cheeks out. Come on, there are only a couple of pages left to the script. Don't you want to see how it ends? He dug his heels into the bear's flank like he was riding a horse, out blinking into the street where the air was glassy and cold. The idea of this fool riding a bear is insane to me. I mean, it doesn't seem like it. I don't think people should ride bears, should they? I don't think it's comfortable for the bears at all. I mean, to have a human on top of them. I mean, I assume these people are much smaller than we are today. You know, he thinks he's Putin. Oh, why is my phone? Is my phone going off? You're so good. You're so good, boy. Okay. He dug his heels into the bear's flank like he was riding a horse, out blinking into the street where the air was glassy and cold. Sackerson sneezed twice, short barks, and Nonsuch lolled on his back. Good boy, here we go. Arms around his neck like a lover. The boys surrounded the bear, and Shay thought of the queen and her household. She stood in the doorway, blinking into the light. Gulls bayed at her for her lack of food. She walked in the opposite direction, down towards the river, to see if the merchant boats were still there. Blank would know what to do. The river was quieter than Shay had ever seen it, no boat in any direction, and even the water wheels had stopped. Sheets of ice the size of carpets collided idly in the tide. Shay walked down into the water. A group of men had been hidden by the overhang of a jetty, men in black leather with a map out in front of them. She thought nothing of it until one started at the sound of her footsteps. He watched her and then turned to talk urgently to his companions. Of course, they were Gilmore's men. She turned tail as unobtrusively as she could, back past the bear pit and then right, following the noise of Nonsuch's procession. At Crossbones Graveyard, she risked a look back. They were a street behind and only had eyes for her, even as the spectacle of Nonsuch riding a bear through the waking streets unfolded. They bunched together to talk and then broke into two groups. One set made for the river and the other followed her. With reluctance, Shay sped up to join the parade. When does the bear eat them? I know. Oh, my kitty, you're so comfy. You're so comfy. Is you comfy? Southwark was a mess. Boys slept in doorways, and the streets were spattered with blooms of vomit. Crows picked over the debris, hopping into arguments, and high in the blank bowl of the sky, hawks waited. She watched, but no Divana. As she walked, the procession thickened. Outriders banged on drums, waking the drunks and throwing open windows. Nonsuch tossed occasional coins behind him, and the parade grew a long tail of children. Kids who skipped in and out between the boys, and prentices who slept where they fell, slipped into the queue without asking where they were going. Drums and pipes in the rain of coins, Sackerson's sporadic bellows, and the cawed fury of the crows. Gilmore's men pressed closer. She recognized them now. She could see their expressions. She moved up through the ranks, now so close to Nonsuch that when Sackerson raised a leg to unfurl a steaming arc of piss, the smell scraped at her nostrils. Would the men dare snatch her here? She thought not. Prentices called out, "Give us a song, Sparrer," and slapped her on the back. However ramshackle a fighting force they might be, they were numerous and raw. Gilmore's men would wait. West through the streets, where boarded-up taverns had been jimmied open and the wreckage of ale jugs turned the streets to obstacle courses. People joined from side streets, and as they did, the blades daubed their shirt fronts with red crosses. A red cross means you're dead, and you, and you. Despite the words, there was a festive air to it. Children giggled as they were daubed, running in circles and throwing themselves backwards into the mud. I'm dead, I'm dead. Dripping paint turned the mud black. White faces, red crosses. Shay didn't recognize a soul. Was this what it was like going off to war? Okay, sweetie, come on. Sweetie, come on. Oh, I know, sweetie, but you're digging your claws in and that hurts. And I need to adjust myself. We'll be cuddling soon. Will you get off of me now? No, you're digging your claws in. I don't like that. Oh, you think if you adjust, it'll be better? If he adjusts, it'll be better? He thinks if he adjusts, it will be better. You love me. I love you. You're such a good kitty. There are many kitties, but this one is the best one. Oh, God, stop it. Okay, baby, come on. No, I need to turn around. Honey, I need to, excuse me, y'all. We're having a moment. Oh, I want to turn the heater on. I'm feeling a bit chilly. The chill has come into the apartment. Here, let's get the heater on. Mm. Mm. Okay, sweetie. Okay, come on, off of mama. Come on. No, I know you want to cuddle, but it's too much for me right now, sweetie. I'll be done in a bit. I won't be on too long, I promise. Not much longer. And then you'll have me all to yourself. Oh, gosh. You feel like Terri is a great drinking buddy. I definitely am not a drinking buddy. I don't drink. I'm not a drinker at all, which does make living here a bit difficult. Sweetie, come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on. No, off of mama now. Come on. Off of mama. Come on. Off. You are being stubborn as hell. If somebody doesn't want you on them, then you should. No. Get off of me. Come on. Off. I've asked nice. Thank you. Don't you be sullen about it. Matthew, I don't know about being coerced into drinking. I definitely don't drink when coerced. That's definitely when I don't drink. If I'm feeling coerced, I'm definitely not going to drink. I might have a cocktail like once or twice a year, if that, or maybe some champagne at a party, but no, I'm not a drinker. I don't like it. It makes me sick. Okay, let's see. West, west, west. East was the people, west was royalty. Drum and pipe music pulling the gaggle up the hill. Shay realized that where they must be going. I'll read another chapter and I think then we'll be done. No, I haven't really. I don't usually get a mimosa at breakfast or brunch. I'd be more likely to get like an Irish coffee or something with brunch or some, like what are we supposed to do on our first date? I don't know. I mean, do you often find that you need to get your dates inebriated for them to enjoy your company? Is that it? You should be able to be entertained by my company and I by yours without any intoxication. We should intoxicate one another enough as it is. If we don't have that, then there's no, if the intoxication has to be artificially produced, it isn't real. So, oh, Galahad, what do you take me for? The man orders for the woman. Well, the man better not order me alcohol because I don't drink it. Thanks. The man generally, asks the woman what she's interested in having, though, when he orders for her. Good point, Stacy. And I just, it sounds very awful, you know? It sounds very awful to be, yeah. Let me continue with my story. There's another chapter I want to get through. It's a couple of pages, and then I think we'll end for tonight. Chapter 43. Paris Garden, of course, the only place for gentlemen south of the river. The grand building offered a chance to explore the delights of Southwark without getting one's feet dirty. Paris Garden whores, it was boasted, bathed twice a day, and their fighting cocks ate grain from silver salvers. Shay had never been inside before. She passed the columned entrance where liveried footmen kept the likes of her away, and she'd seen the boats that disgorged parties of gentlemen onto its private wharf. But today the doors stood wide open, and a 30-foot red X had been daubed across the facade. In she came with the others like a riptide. The great hall had been cleared and given a sloppy coat of whitewash. Paint dripped from the famous chandeliers and made ghosts of the portraits on the walls. Wow. Nonsuch and Sackerson sat on a rough stage that had been erected at the rear of the room. A painted map of the city was their backdrop. It showed the outline of every house to the north of the river. The south side was blank. Nonsuch sat on a cardboard throne and rested his chin on a long wooden sword. The procession had grown hundreds strong, and the stranglers were still coming in at the back. More boys pushed their way inside, and Shay was crushed between a mass of bodies. She was among the shortest there, trapped at armpit height in a sea of people. A tightening claustrophobia caught her, like stage fright, but with no exit, and she cried out, "Sparrow, Sparrow, Sparrow!" The cry went up, and instantly hands hoisted her aloft. Prentices passed her forward, ever so gently, like a package with tuppence extra promised if delivered undamaged. A boy placed her on the edge of the stage, and Sackerson regarded her with interest. Behind the bear, the back of the hall was piled with the crudest of weapons, pikes and clubs, rusting swords and staffs. The map of London shimmied, and Shay couldn't work out where the breeze was coming from. Nonsuch raised a hand. "Blades, we have spent our lives in a play." Each word drove the volume of the crowd down, and by play there was silence. A bad play, a poor play with poor actors as the leads. Yet you and I are forever in the background. We're serfs and water carriers, prisoners and slaves. We've spent 20 years playing the same old parts while our lords and ladies take the bows. He sat on the edge of the stage and next craned to catch his words. Why? No answer. Why? In the theater, the best roles go to the most gifted. He gave a bow. Granted, that's usually me, but not always. Any one of you could be a king. Any one of you could get the girl. Shay scanned the room. At least 3/4 were boys. But this is real life, and in real life, people like us aren't allowed to choose our roles. He paused, and Shay heard raw breaths from the front row and a rowdy bunch of crows outside. Until today, Saturnalia, the one day when servants are masters and masters are servants. They deign to give us this one day, but we shall turn it into forever. The last in a hissed whisper. Who's first? How interesting. And I'm just remembering kind of this practice in where they would have servants' balls. And I didn't know if it was attached to, I didn't realize it might be attached to Saturnalia customs. I'll have to read up more about Saturnalia, but I'm wondering, like, was the servants' ball kind of a like holdover of Saturnalia, a way of celebrating that? A boy jumped on stage, jug-eared and wet-lipped. He executed a series of bows. A series of bows to Nonsuch, to Sackerson, and finally to Shay. His painted cross ran from shoulder to hip. "Kneel," said Nonsuch, and the boy slid to his knees. Nonsuch took a slip of paper from a pile and touched the boy on each shoulder with his sword. "I dub you Lord Gresham of the dead. Your lands await." He handed the boy the slip, and behind him a lad drew a red cross on the map, marking a house up near Bishopsgate. "Next?" A queue formed, and boys scrabbled up onto stage to be knighted and given a parcel of land. Hundreds of them. Even with Nonsuch at his fastest, it took an hour. Sackerson snuffled around the stage, and ripples of laughter and applause erupted through the hall, seemingly at random. Children dripped with paint, clutching swords longer than their arms, chattering like it was the last day of school. "Where did you get? Who will you have to kill?" Oh my goodness. This is very disturbing, isn't it? So they've got this map of London. Nonsuch is like granting these boys titles that are coming up to the stage. And then they have to go and like their task is to go kill the people who live at these addresses that they've been given. I mean, this is like, whoa. What happened to Nonsuch? He was so romantic, wasn't he? I mean, my heart leapt for him so many times, and now I'm looking at this, and he's such a. I mean, it is a tragedy, isn't it? He's such a dark figure to be doing this, to be corrupting these young boys this way as well. I mean, he was corrupted as well. Was he born corrupt? I don't know. Maybe we all are born corrupted, aren't we? Born into a fallen state. Nonsuch fell off. Nonsuch fell off, yeah. Oh dear. Shay didn't understand the show. It was metaphorical, like something the old Nonsuch would have done. What would happen when every boy had his piece of land and they were stuck here in Southwark? Lord Lothbury of the dead, Lord Billiter. She recognized the names, great houses and city estates, places that she and these boys would never see inside. With every boy who stepped on stage, the map was further covered with red crosses. Boys picked up clubs and pikes and tried them out against each other. She couldn't see the point of it, but that was probably for the best. By nightfall, everyone would be dead drunk, so until then, they could play at being lords, and no one would get hurt. The map dripped in red now, and the queue had become a trickle. Nonsuch dubbed a one-legged boy, who couldn't have been more than 12, Lord Lombard, and then laid down his sword. He stood and hushed the crowd. Who wants to see their new lands? A joyous cheer. Excuse me, I told you I would be wrapping up soon. I don't deserve this behavior. I know I kicked you off of my lap, but we're going to be cuddling very soon. So you keep that, you keep that mouth shut. Oh, thank you, Matthew. That's nice. This is for the earlier stream when I went on a tangent. I don't remember going on a tangent. What did I go on a tangent about? Get request line. Don't tell him to beat it. Do I keep all the books I read or pass them along? I keep most of them. Yeah, I keep most of them. I mean, yeah, I tend to keep my books. Very rare that I get rid of a book. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Matthew and Samuel, for the nice donations. Okay. Who wants to see their new lands? a joyous cheer. He walked to the map and tugged on a rope. The map fluttered to the ground. Behind the canvas, the whole back wall of the building had been removed, and you could see out across the river, a river now paved with boats, hundreds of them jammed together like wooden walkway all the way to the far shore, barges and wherries and tilt boats and rowing boats and ships, launches and floating platforms, all alongside each other and roped together tightly. The north bank was in walking distance. Take the city, take the city, take the city. None such started the chant, but in moments it was taken up by the crowd, and he sat silently smiling. Take the city, take the city, take the city. All right. And that concludes the reading tonight. I think we will have one more reading and be done with this book. How very exciting. How very exciting. Encore. No, I think it is nearing 9:00, and I need to get myself ready for bed. It will be an early morning tomorrow. It will be Sunday, and I will need to, get myself up and out to church. So, yeah, I don't want to be up late tonight. But thank you all for being here. Very fun, very interesting chapters we've read. Nice to be back with none such at our heels. Oh, none such. None such. Galahad is offering me marriage. Galahad, you're a mess. You literally offer marriage to every woman in the chat. I am not special to you at all. I will not be had so easily. Besides, you don't want a woman like me. I'm older than you. Find yourself a younger woman. Yeah, shout out to the black cats. John Siri has a lovely black cat himself. We can have one maybe. It's not about that. I just, I don't think it's proper. I don't think it's proper, Galahad. I don't think it's proper for many reasons. I mean, yeah, and it isn't proper. You know that we would not be a good match. Come on. Silly. Indeed, exactly, Pinochet's helicopter. I am saving myself for him. Well, then he will be a good one for me. A monk. Is he? Do you think so? Sterile? That's okay. Well, Galahad, if that is the case, I would love him anyway. Put a finger in my ear, call the cat, and we will see if you are a cat whisperer. I don't think so. I'm y'all are awful. Galahad, I don't appreciate what you say about him. I've read your comment. I'm not reading it out loud, Yoda. I'm not reading that. That is terrible. You all embarrass me. You all embarrass me with this. It's bad enough. It's bad enough. You're going to tell Hank, well, somebody better. Goodness. Yes, who has a cat? Press 1 if you have a cat. Do you think so, Yoda? Oh, Yoda. He'll be okay. I'm sure he can protect himself. Golden Rule has a cat. You have 5 cats, Samuel? Yeah, Galahad, see, and that's another thing. Yeah, that's another reason why you and I will never ever happen. You're jealous of my cat. Indeed, Pinochet. They will have the best hair. Because my hair is thick, y'all. Thick and strong. They're not all yours. I don't like dogs, Galahad. I don't want to have a dog. Well, I shouldn't say I don't like dogs. I don't like how servile they are. But yeah, cats. Yeah. A cat. I don't think that well, my father's passed away, Chris, but he had dark hair and it was thick. I take after his, I have more of his hair. He had dark, thick hair. It was reddish though. He had a great deal of red in it. He had a great deal of red in his beard as well. And it's interesting with him, the reds went gray first. His hair did thin, of course, as he got older, and it went gray. Twice in one day, indeed. 2 different streams. I would not have your child, Galahad. I will not marry you. I will not have your child. I will not have a dog with you. I would not give up my feline companion for you. You are not. What are you doing? You're just silly. I will not bear you a child, Galahad. No, Galahad is a no. Never say never. I will say no. I say no to this. I will not. Yes, the red in his interesting, Matthew. Yeah. Yeah, he went gray in his beard first. I remember. But he's making me say it, Cecil. He's making me say it. And look at him. I'm too much of a man for you. If whatever comforts you, whatever you want to tell yourself to comfort yourself is fine with me. When people ask, why did Terri spurn you? Oh, I was too much of a man for her. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. So I think that's pretty common. I mean, my dad was, Black Irish. So dark eyes, dark features, dark hair. But the reddishness. Do you think so, Matthew? Do you think I'm going to marry a black dancer? Stacy thinks I will marry Jessica Simpson. I don't think I'm not. I wouldn't want to marry a woman, nor would I want to marry somebody who's been divorced. I will not eat green eggs and ham. I will not eat them, Sam. My dad was black. He was Irish. Of course he was black. No. My papa. Look at Galahad. He says, "I am a strong, wealthy, intelligent specimen." But you are not more of a you do not in any way seem to me to be a suitable companion for myself in any sense. Like, oh, Galahad, indeed no. Do you think P. Diddy is lonely? It's lonely at the top. How come? You just have to obey. I don't. Phil Lynott. Yes, my favorite Black Irishman, Phil Lynott. Yeah, like, subscribe, X, Super Chat, Cash App, and share. I do have a Cash App. I set one up. Yeah, Galahad is like, like, I couldn't obey you, Galahad. I couldn't. I would fight with you. We would have, we would spar endlessly, and I would disobey you routinely. It's just not going to happen. This is the real world. It's nice though. It's nice. It's nice that you think I would make you some kind of wife, but I think it's just the alcohol. Yeah, talking. You don't really want to marry me. You know very much that I would not be a suitable wife in any sense for you. What are my ambitions? Um, like my grand ambitions or just my general ambitions? I don't know that I want to share my ambitions with y'all. I feel that I shouldn't. It seems wrong to share my ambitions. One should not count one's chickens before they hatch. One should not talk about their plans before before they've formulated. Okay, but you have a problem with cats, Galahad, and you have a problem with my cat. And that for me is just too much. No, Yoda, we're not playing this game. We're not playing this game again. I am Latin. I am a provider. What about like me and who I am and my cat? I just have to obey and look pretty. Hell no. Oh yeah, I just don't want to, Yoda. I don't like these games where you ask me like, would you rather marry this boy or this boy? Would you rather marry Joe for Phoenix or Mark? Like, come on. Yes, you have to sacrifice a little bit, so I know you are committed to our children. I will not sacrifice my cat. You're insane. Like, I mean, it's so disrespectful, honestly. It's like you come onto my channel, I'm an actual person here, and then you have the audacity to like make these statements. My cat is mine. Okay? I have a life. I don't even know what to say. I mean, like, you're insane. You really need to like get it together. You will not share your children with a cat. Well, I won't raise children in a household without a cat. How about that? I don't want my children not knowing what it is to have a cat. The trade-off is not much greater. You have no idea what my cat is like. My cat is a more fun companion than you are. I will enjoy my cat's company far more than I would ever enjoy yours. And he's also my sweet kitty I've had since he was a baby. You think I would give him up just to marry some guy who's like a moron? Like, come on. Dijon Pa is interested. Okay. Yoda says that Dijon Pa is interested. He is interested in being a suitor, and that's who he endorses. You'll have to tell me of you respect me defending him. You respect me defending him. You don't respect me at all. If you respected me in any sense, you would stop with the, like, I don't even find it funny. It's like so enraging, honestly. Yeah, maybe I should time him out. I mean, it's like the movie Jules. Matthew is recommending the film called Jules. I'm not familiar with it. No, no, not aliens. I'm scared of aliens. It's got Ben Kingsley, Harriet Sansom Curtis, Zoe Winters, Jade Kwan, and Jane Curtin. Oh dear, Jane Curtin. I don't know, y'all. I'm scared of aliens. I don't think I want to watch it. Interesting. It sounds interesting. I might watch it. Harmony don't want you either. Come on, you're nuts. I do use it. You saw a movie vindicating Trump. Was it the Dinesh Sizua or whatever his name is? No, I don't think so, Galahad. You stay away from Harmony. You stay away from her. The Noskafundin map you poo-pooed is real. What? We're protecting Harmony. I will protect her from the likes of Galahad. Although I don't think I need to. D'Souza. Thank you. It's called Vindicating Trump, isn't it? That film? I saw a preview for it when I went to see, what's it called? Am I Racist? Turn the ticker off now. Is Harmony cute or not? Is Harmony in chat? Yes, we know, Galahad. We know. Yeah, the trailer looked good. Galahad says he is a womanizer and he is no good for the females. We're putting that up. We'll just leave that up. In case anyone was questioning. We know. We know. You a mess, Galahad. You're a whole mess. You stay telling on yourself. And yet you want a woman to obey you. And you won't even let her have a cat. You might want to rethink your standards and ask yourself if you meet the standards of the kind of woman that you're looking for. Women love me and I love them. You don't love a damn thing. That's not love. Oh, what a mess. So you liked the film See Now and Now. You saw Vindicating Trump and you liked it. It was good. Would you recommend it to others? Should we see it? That's a good point, Stacy. Stacy says that if women were meant to obey, they'd be more like dogs and cats. Interesting. Yeah. Women are a bit like cats, aren't we? I if you go into that kind of movie, it'll piss you off because it shows how easy it is to rig. Oh no, the 2020 election was fine. There was nothing wrong with it. Honey, I don't know if there are any elections real, honestly. I don't know. Oh, that's funny. I don't know that that's completely true, but it does tend to make women a bit like, yeah, it's true. Absence makes the heart grow fonder for men and women, doesn't it? Men are very similar, I think, human nature, really. Well, what are we to do about it? See now and now. I mean, really. What are we to do about it? No, what can we do? My cat doesn't really like boxes. He played in them when he was younger, but they have like no intrigue to him now. I remember him like jumping in and out of like cardboard boxes when he was much younger, but now, yeah, he's just like whatever, not interesting. Well, yeah, I've had fun, but it's past time for me to go to bed. So I'm going to say goodnight. I wish you all well. We will be back soon to complete the Ghost Theater. What a read it has been. Thank you all for your comments. Thank you for your super chats, Samuel and Matthew. Very much appreciated. Thank you all who showed up into the Terri Strange channel to watch 2 times today. 2 times. You all are some real ones. So, Muggsy's with you, Rome. Hi, Muggsy. Good to greet you. Good to greet you. Yes. Yeah, but everyone. Oh, Galahad. More Terri is the best, Terri. Thank you. That's sweet. Oh, Chris, that's nice. Y'all like my hair? I didn't really do it today. I didn't really do it. I just kind of let it be. Aw, y'all are nice. Well, thank you. Thank you for the compliments. But yes, I must adjourn. I must get myself to bed. Well, if Muggsy is a friend of Rome, he must be a very nice man indeed. Well, good night, y'all. We'll be on soon again. We'll have some fun. All right. Ciao.